Commissioner Gorelick.
Mr. Secretary, thank you for your testimony today. It is quite impressive, as always, very thoughtful and broad-gauged. I have been troubled about something that perhaps you can help on. You were in these meetings where the various possibilities of getting Osama bin Laden were discussed. We now have huge and selective leaks coming from various levels of the CIA who were saying, we really had him, we had great intelligence, we could have gotten him, and the policymakers overruled us. But at the same time, you have Sandy Berger and I think yourself and others saying, no, the director of CIA told us the intelligence was not good enough and he was not recommending going forward. And that leaves us in a very peculiar position. Either the people below George Tenet didn't know what was happening above his level or at his level, or he was telling them one thing and telling you another, or maybe there's some third possibility. But this is an important issue for us to understand, did we have it? Did we not have it? Was it good? Was it not good? And how could there be this dispute on something so fundamental? And I would just like your view on this.
There are 23,000 people who work at the Pentagon. Secretary Lehman probably knows from his own experience how disconcerting that can be in terms of trying to maintain control and to maintain the flow of information coming up through the Department of the Navy or the Department of Defense. There were 3,000 people on the Office of Secretary of Defense staff that we tried to reduce by a third. That was one of my goals in taking the office itself, but 2,000 people in the Office of Secretary of Defense. I can assure you there are people inside the Pentagon who say, if only they had listened to me, if only this memo had gotten to the boss, we would have taken the following action. And I think all policymakers have to come to the following conclusion. You are judged by the people that you appoint. You pick the best people you can. You rely upon their judgment. If you find that you have to question their credibility of their judgment, you get rid of them. But the notion that somehow there's somebody down in the bowels that has a different view or has submitted a different analysis that if only had gotten to the right people would have made a difference, I think you have to take that into account. But if the Director of Central Intelligence says, we don't have it, then you have to rely upon that. If he says we do have it, you rely upon that as well. Say, okay, under these circumstances, we take the following action. If the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs comes to me and says, I recommend the following, you have to rely upon that unless you doubt his actions. I'll give you an example. The Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, I selected him for that position because of he was the commander of Special Operations Command. And for that specific reason, I wanted to have more emphasis placed upon special forces than we had placed in the past. I saw what he did, and I put this in my written testimony. I saw what he did in Bosnia and Kosovo. We had some operation called the PIFWICs. These were persons who had been indicted for war crimes, and they were so-called snatch operations. I saw some of the plans that were put into effect to grab certain people. I saw Chairman Shelton say, don't do it that way. Here's a better way. Here's how you're really going to make this thing successful. So I came to see how he operated and to rely upon his judgment. And if I had any doubts that he was giving me the straight information, which I never had, then I would have been derelict in my duty in not calling him on it. So I think you have to take it into account. One of the challenges this commission faces, all of us face, how do we have better vertical integration? You've had information about what took place in some of the field offices in the FBI, information that didn't get put up the line, didn't get shared horizontally. How do we construct a system that allows for better vertical information of intelligence and then horizontal cross-fertilization or sharing that information? Tough job. You've got different cultures, you've got different sources and methods and standards, but it has to be done. Now, it'll never deal with the issue that you're raising now. If someone at whatever level, second, third, fourth level down, says, I have a better idea or I have information, it's just not getting to the right people. You will always have that problem. But you have to rely upon the judgment of the people that you appoint.
But you are convinced that the Director of Central Intelligence in these instances said to you and your fellow policymakers, we don't have it?
On every occasion, he said that exactly. He would come in initially because he was getting some raw information saying, I think we're going to have it, that we do have it, and then he would go back and he would refine it. After, again, we were prepared to take action and say, we don't think so. To his credit, I mean, this is not a fault of George. This is to his credit, saying, let's be as sure as we can. If we're going to kill people, innocent people, as well as carrying out this operation, let's be as sure as we can that we've got the right target, the right information, and minimize, if we can, killing innocent people. That's his job, and I think he did it well.